Center for the Ethiopian Educational Information and Communication Technology presents Educational Satellite Television Programs.
Hello, teacher. Hello, students. Welcome to today's lesson about polypeptides. In the last lesson, you learned about amino acids. Today, we will study both proteins and polypeptides. We will define a protein and study how they are formed. We will also examine the different types of protein. Are you ready to begin, students? A protein is a biochemical compound. It consists of one or more polypeptides, typically folded into a globular or fibrous form. This leads us naturally to the next question. What is a polypeptide? A polypeptide is a single linear polymer chain of amino acids that contains up to 50 individual units. These have been bonded together by peptide bonds between the carboxyl and amino groups of adjacent amino acid residues. Now that we have defined proteins and polypeptides, let us examine how proteins are formed. Proteins are assembled from polypeptides using information encoded in genes. Each protein has its own unique amino acid sequence. It is specified by the nucleotide sequence of the gene encoding that particular protein. In general, the genetic code specifies 20 standard amino acids. This alters the physical and chemical properties, the folding and the function of the protein. Sometimes proteins have non-peptide groups attached, which are called prosthetic groups or cofactors. Most proteins fold into unique three-dimensional structures called native conformations. Some proteins can fold without help. Some need the help of other protein molecules called chaperones to fold into their native conformations. It is time for our first activity, students. This is a list of some of the terms that we have learned so far. Please define each one to the best of your ability.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Hello there, students. Let us review our definitions, shall we? First, we must define a protein. If you said that a protein is a biochemical compound that is made of one or more polypeptides, then you are correct. What is a polypeptide? It is a polymer chain of amino acids that can contain up to 50 units. Good work. A chaperone protein is essentially a helper protein. It assists other proteins in forming their native conformations. Were you able to define all three terms, students? I hope so. Let us continue the lesson by examining the makeup of a protein. Here are the four distinct aspects of a protein's structure. The primary structure is the amino acid sequence. It is the order in which the amino acid residues have been connected by peptide bonds. The secondary structures are regularly repeating local formations, which are stabilized by hydrogen bonds. The most common examples are the alpha helix and the beta sheet. If you look closely, students, you will see that each structure contains the same amino acids, but they are shaped differently. Because secondary structures are local, the same protein can contain many different helixes and sheets. The tertiary structure is the overall shape of a single protein molecule. This is the native conformation and is made up of many secondary structures. It controls the basic function of the protein. The quaternary structure is formed by several protein molecules. Together, they operate as a single unit called a protein complex. Proteins and protein complexes carry out the duties specified by the information in genes. They have many diverse functions. Most biological molecules in a cell are fairly inert and are acted upon by the proteins. Let us try our second activity of the lesson, students. Please select a partner. Here we see a list of the different types of proteins in the human body. The areas marked example and function are blank. The answers are jumbled up on the side of the screen. Please copy down the table and try your best to choose the right answers.
Students, let's get ready. Begin. Time's up. Let's get back to our lesson.
Welcome back, students. I hope your studies allowed you to complete this activity. Let us review the correct answers together. The proteins on our table are enzymes. One enzyme is called amylase. Enzymes promote the breakdown of starch into glucose, the simple sugar. Structural proteins promote the formation of hair, nails, tendons, and cartilage. Examples of structural proteins include keratin and collagen. Contractile proteins contract muscle fibers. Two contractile proteins are called actin and myosin. Hormones regulate the use of blood sugar. Insulin and glucagon are both examples of hormones. Storage proteins like ferritin store iron in the organ called the spleen. Transport proteins have two separate functions. The hemoglobin carries oxygen in the blood. The serum albumin carries fatty acid in the blood. Both of these are good examples of transport proteins. Immunological proteins defend the body from foreign invaders like bacteria and viruses. Antibodies are immunological proteins. This was a challenging exercise, was it not? By completing it, you have developed a strong grasp of the different types of proteins in the human body. Great job. Today, we have learned about proteins. We discovered that they are made of polypeptides, which in turn are made of amino acids. We learned their four structures and some examples of how they are used in the human body. Great work, everyone. This is all for today's lesson. Until next time, thank you, teacher. Thank you, students.